Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Jake Gordon. The Hawks had two players that are set to hit restricted free agency at the end of the offseason or the end of this next season, which means they can match any offer. So it's not necessarily was necessary that they had to get these deals done, but it's important if they can get them. And they were two important players in Sadiq Bey and Onyeka Okongwu. Sadiq Bey did not get an extension, which is not a surprise when you talk about wing players. I mean, they've been getting ridiculous amounts of money. The fact that he's going to bet on himself in a system like Quinn Snyder's, where he could have an even bigger role this year without John Collins, not surprising at all, especially with the Hawks cap space. But Onyeka Okongwu does get 4 for 62. I think that's a fantastic deal when you look across the league. It does look like he's going to be the Hawks center for the foreseeable future. It just kind of depends what they do with Clint Capella. I mean, obviously he's been dangled out in trades. I'm sure that's going to continue. But even if he's not, even if he becomes the backup, eventually it does seem like Onyeka Okongwu is going to step in and be the starting center for the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, I think they played it perfectly with both of these guys. You look at Clint Capella, Onyeka Okongwu. If you let him hit restricted free agency, he's going to get way more money than that, and he's probably going to end up leaving because you may not be able to match it. You look at a team like the Spurs, or a young rebuilding team, maybe like the Portland Trail Blazers, somebody like that would absolutely throw him just an ungodly bag to come be their starting center. Maybe not. I mean, I know Portland has DeAndre Ayton, but you get the point. And then Sadiq Bey, I think they played it correctly with him too. I said this earlier on Twitter. He is the most let the year play out and let him hit the market player that I've ever seen in my entire life. He could come out and put up an absolute stinker next year. He could come out and be a $25 million player, but there was no reason to go ahead and get excited and give him a big extension now. Let him play out a year, see what he's got, let the market decide, match the offer.
Yep. I mean, I think they did it perfect. I really want to focus on Onyeka Okongwu because I just think we've just been kind of waiting for this Okongwu breakout. He hasn't really had the opportunities coming off the bench, but you even look around the league at people that are just national media outlets, and they're really, giving the Hawks some credit for getting this deal done. I'm kind of surprised that he signed for 462. I think he could be in for a huge year this year, but you're talking about a guy who, he's not necessarily the rim protector that Clint Capella is. He's still a very good rim protector, but he's so much more versatile. When you look at what the Hawks are trying to do, probably this is what I'm assuming with Quinn Snyder. I think Jalen Johnson gets a lot more minutes. We've talked about him as a potential breakout candidate. He can defend positions 1 through 5. Onyeka Okongwu can do that defensively too. And he's a little bit better around the rim, has much better touch than Clint Capella, can finish around the rim like Clint Capella, and is a better passer than Clint Capella. And same with Jalen Johnson. He has a lot of the same finishing. He's not the shooter that John Collins was, but as far as ball movement and passing and playmaking ability and getting out on the break and athleticism, he's better in those areas.
Yeah, and last year I wrote an article about this a long time ago about what an Onyeka Okongwu extension would look like, and I gave him the Wendell Carter extension, about 4 for 50, and he got a little bit more than that, but I think that might just be the natural result of NBA salaries going up. I mean, we just saw I think Giannis is getting $62 million a year at this point, but yeah, I think they're very comparable players. Like Wendell Carter, when the Magic re-upped on him, they had traded for him, so they had given up a lot of assets to get him. But he was a guy that they're like, hey, we believe in this guy. He's going to be a big part of our future. And they gave him that extension. It was a little bit on the lower end, but it was still good value. And I think that's one of the better center value contracts in the NBA. Wendell Carter is a really good player. And I think the Hawks kind of found themselves in the same spot. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thrilled. I mean, you look around the league. I mean, you got bums making $20-25 million. And I know the center market is a little different than the wing market and stuff like that. But I think Onyeka Okongwu has a real chance. I mean, I think already if you slid him in there, he's going to be a above average starter at the center position. And I think he also has potential to be, I don't want to say a star, but like in that same John Collins realm when he was really good, a 20-10 type player. Maybe not quite 20-10, maybe 18-10, but also really good defensively. Much better than John Collins was ever defensively. I mean, we've seen Onyeka Okongwu as far as matchups. He matches up as well with anybody in the league with Giannis. You just mentioned him, but he really is kind of almost like a Giannis stopper, as much as there are Giannis stoppers in this league. And that kind of versatility, a guy that can get out on the perimeter, defend 1 through 5, and also protect the rim and provide a little bit more offensively than Clint Capella can. Eventually, this guy's going to be the starter for the Hawks. I just don't know when. I'm really interested to see how they use that combo this year. Is it going to be more of a 50-50 split? Are they going to kind of start, getting Okongwu more minutes? Because it seems like he deserves it. It seems like this is something Hawks fans have been asking for a while. But as long as Capella's on the roster, he's still a really good player. He's a veteran. He's got great chemistry with Trae Young. They're probably going to keep starting him.
Yeah, and you look at Sadiq Bey too at the 4. He plays that role well, like you said, the John Collins role. I like Sadiq Bey a lot. I mean, obviously the Hawks do too. They give up 5 second-round picks to get him, but yeah, I think Okongwu could play some 4. He doesn't offer you that much spacing, but like we said, he's kind of like that
He's
bad.
been shooting though. He's been shooting in the preseason. Like I don't think he's
He
going to be
has.
a great shooter, but if you can keep just the fact that he could keep him honest, that's a
You got to keep
huge
him
thing.
honest, yeah. Yeah, and I think Sadiq Bey is going to get a lot of the minutes, but we could see a Okongwu with the 4. Like I said, he's kind of that Bam Adebayo archetype. Like he's a little bit smaller for a center, but he can go out on the perimeter and guard guys. He's obviously not as good as Bam Adebayo is right now, but he could definitely grow into that type of role.
I think that's going to be those 4 that we just talked about: Jalen Johnson and Onyeka Okongwu, Sadiq Bey, and Clint Capella. How they allocate those minutes and how they utilize all those guys in different 5-man rotations. I think that's the most intriguing part of the Hawks. And if they can get it right with Quinn Snyder, I mean, that's obviously what the Hawks are banking on here, right? They haven't made any improvements to the roster. If anything, they've lessened the roster by trading John Collins this offseason. But if they can get it right from a coaching perspective, that's what the Hawks are banking on and hoping some of these younger guys develop, and Quinn Snyder can do that. That is entirely 100% what the Hawks are banking on this year to get better.
I have high hopes for Jalen Johnson. He's a fantastic rebounder. He's a great point forward. I mean, he passes really well for a guy his size. His shots are really coming along. I have high hopes for Jalen Johnson this year too, and I think that's another reason why we maybe didn't see a Sadiq Bey extension, is because they want to see if Jalen Johnson can step into that role.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think Jalen Johnson has maybe not star potential, but he can be John Collins-esque. Same way I think about Congo. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk the Braves' outlook for their starting rotation in 2024.